Check it out. Thursdays, 10 a.m. Mountain Time. Noon Eastern. A healthy dose of Jersey Girl wisdom. Live with Rev Jersey Girl. Sponsored by New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Hello, greetings. I'm so glad that you're here. Michelle Wadleigh here, Rev Jersey Girl. It is good to be back. Last week you saw a recording of one of my shows. My life has been filled with births and deaths and moving and all sorts of things. So I'm kind of bobbing on the waves and working to move through life and to kind of show up, and kind of deal with life as it is. So I thank Reverend Robert and the show for covering for me last week as I was off taking care of personal business. So, but I am back, and I have some individuals coming on my show in the coming weeks that I'm really excited about, and we're going to be covering a whole bunch of different subjects. But for today, what happened was a couple of weeks ago, I was asked to. I was a guest speaker for New Thought Philadelphia, an Anton organization. And that was great fun. It's great fun showing up someplace new because they don't know your stuff and they're not used to you yet and you're not dismissed. So that was kind of fun. But the beautiful thing is I got to meet, and this has happened to me a number of times in the past, I got to meet this beautiful woman. Not only is she physically beautiful, but she's beautiful by heart. And she's a musician, and she is... she makes her, music is her life. And so we'll let her tell you all about it. But totally fell for her spirit. And it was a beautiful coming together. And I want to invite into the room right now, introduce you to Deb Chamberlin. Deb, come on in. There you go. Hello.
You're making me cry.
Oh, well, it was, it's not the only time that's happened to me, but sometimes you meet somebody and there's this thing.
Yes.
There's this thing. And when I find, you know better than I, but I find when musicians are out there pouring their heart out, they're pretty open and pretty kind of tender, right? They're in this tender place. And so it's kind of, being metaphorically naked with your music. It's not unlike being a minister, I guess, in that way. But you do it with such beauty. So anyway, welcome. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
And so one of the fun things we found, that we established, I guess I knew this, but I remembered before the show that Deb is a born and raised, almost raised. For a period, she was out Jersey Girl. So it's Jersey Girl wisdom today with two Jersey girls. And so that's always fun for me just because it's fun. But Deb comes to us with a world of experience, and I want her to tell you. And Diego, maybe you could put up her website for the Awakened Artist, and Do you have the? If you could put up the website, that would be great too. If you can catch that. And so, Deb, I want you to tell our audience about who you are and what you do. And there you go, Diego. Thank you. theawakenartist.net/course. So tell us about what you do and what you love and your passion and what makes you get up in the morning.
Wow. How long do we have?
Half hour. Go for it.
So, well, let's see. From the time I was a kid, I was doing music. My family, I have a lot of artistry in my family. My mom is an artist, a visual artist. My sister was a professional dancer. My dad was a musician. Yeah, everything. So, my older sister, I have two older sisters, brought home the Carole King tapestry record from summer camp when I was 13, and that was it for me. I was pretty advanced at playing the piano by that age already, so I spent the rest of my teen years sitting at the piano, consoling myself through my teenage angst, singing all the Carole King songs that would come out, and I had all the songbooks.
I just repurchased it because I didn't have it in my phone. So
yeah.
Oh my God. I wore that record out back in the day.
Forget it. My songbooks are not, they don't even have a spine left. They're all pages. So I would sit there and just play, and her lyrics, and I also love Simon and Garfunkel, I have to say them too. But Carole King's lyrics, she was my therapist growing up. Let's just put it that way.
Okay.
And I felt like she was the only one that really got me and heard me and saw me and knew me. And so I wanted to be Carole King, when I grew up. So I went through high school. I was, grew up in a relatively strict home. I didn't have a big social life. School was my social life. And I got into the musicals. I played piano and sang in all the choirs, that kind of stuff. And then I went off to college and was a music theater major. And then I had I'm going into my story here, if that's okay.
No, good. I want to hear it.
Okay, cool. So I was, in love with this guy that I'd been with for 2 years, that I'd met in my sister's wedding the day after I graduated high school at West Point. My sister's husband went to West Point, so they went to West Point together, and we had a long distance relationship for 2 years, and I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life with him. And of my junior year of college, the same weekend that my voice teacher took me to New York City to see the top laryngologist in the country, because I was having voice issues for quite a while and nobody seemed to know what to do. So she took me from Virginia on the train up to New York, amazing teacher. And he told me I needed to go on vocal rest for 6 months. And everything I did in school involved my voice, because I was a music theater major. Every single class involved my voice. So that was pretty depressing. That was on the Friday of this one weekend. And then that Sunday, well, my relationship ended. So with my, my true love. So I really had quite an emotional breakdown. It was bad.
And then not being able to voice your
exactly.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
And I didn't, like, back then there were no therapists. I'm not going to say the year, but there were no therapists. It was a very small music conservatory in Virginia. I couldn't really talk to my family much about it because they didn't approve of the guy. They were happy that broke up. So anyway, I mustered through that semester. I don't know how. I was pretty much of a zombie, but I was looking for a way out. And I was really good in school academically, so I couldn't justify it, like it was too hard. I couldn't use that. So I was going to try and be a flight attendant. My uncle worked for TWA Airlines. But then my sister, who was a professional dancer, left the ballet world, and she got a job as a showgirl with Ringling Brothers Circus. And on my Christmas break from school, we went down to see the opening of the show, and I thought, So I went back and packed up, basically, and ran off with the circus with my sister.
Well, Diego and I were very excited before the show when you mentioned it. Well, I want to know, what did you do in the circus?
Well, let's see, I flew down in January. So from January to like April, or March, I was working concessions up and down through the seats, hawking circus programs and lights and all that kind of stuff. And I had my own stand with a girl. And then when we were in New York City, I auditioned for show. They had a big audition for showgirls. And I was a musician, an actor. I played the piano in my sister's ballet school growing up, and I mimicked her my whole life, trying to be a dancer. And I had a year and a half of dance classes in college. They actually hired me to be a showgirl. And I thought, really? Okay. So they gave me 2 weeks to learn 5 dance numbers and an aerial number, the Spanish web, where you have to climb a rope like you had to do in gym class that you could never do. And then it's 25 feet up in the air with a loop, and there's a guy at the bottom who spins it around. You've seen them do this in shows. Pink does that kind of stuff now.
Yeah.
And so I had 2 weeks to learn all these dance numbers on this aerial act, and then they threw me into the show.
Oh my God.
And my first performance was in Philadelphia, which is pretty cool because that's kind of where I ended up now. I'm in South Jersey, just outside of Philly. And then I toured, and then I also became a school teacher for the flying trapeze kid who was, I think, 9 at the time. So I taught him 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade for an hour a day, 5 days a week. So I did that. And we lived in a circus train. My room was 4 feet wide and 6 feet long. And I lived in that. So anything is luxury beyond that to me. So I lived in there for 2 years on the road and traveled all over the country. It is amazing.
Not everybody that can say I ran a circus.
Nope.
That's really incredible. Yeah, I did have an aunt that I never met because I'm the last of 7 children. So when I came along, my parents already had grandchildren. So there were 2, I have 2 nieces that are older than I am. So I was really at the tail end of a long line of people having babies. But one of my aunts, we have pictures of her, and I should have remembered that for today. I have pictures of her at the circus standing with the elephant. She worked with elephants. And right. Yeah. Hi, Jude. Yeah. What an experience. I love that you went with that. I love that you have that opportunity and you're like, yeah, I'm going to the circus.
Well, I see Diego wants you to put on your headphones. Anyway, but yeah. I'll respond to that. Yes. I literally, though I have to say, it's really exciting now to talk about it, but at the time it was really the darkest period of my life. I mean, at 20 years old, how many dark periods have you had? But it was a really, really dark, torturous period of my life. I felt like the 2 greatest things that I loved in my life, in the world, were ripped away from me. And so I thought, okay. My mom wasn't thrilled, but I think because my sister was there, it was like, okay, you'll be with her. So my sister left after a year. I stayed for 2 years. And it really was an amazing time in my life. I eventually wrote a screenplay about it, which I think is pretty good. And I've shopped it a little bit, but that's part of my story, which I'll tell you is, I eventually ended up in New York City and, decided it was time to heal. My cousin and his wife invited me to come stay with them. And then I eventually moved and started this journey of healing and personal growth and spiritual exploration. And that's the journey I've really been on for the last 35 or more years.
Tell us about that, Deb. Tell us what that journey consisted of.
Okay, I will. So one of the things was I found this amazing voice teacher named Katie Agresta, who became my best friend for quite a while. And we got certified as Reiki masters together, and we did a lot of courses. I did the S training. Do you remember the S training back then? And I did other work similar to that was about the creative process, and became a certified teacher and a certified life coach through that work, and practiced what I was learning on myself first, because I really believe that if you're going to try and impact healing and change in the world, you got to live it, And there's so many people that really don't live it. So that was my number one priority. And then my voice teacher, her student got famous, Cyndi Lauper, and everyone wanted to study with Katie. And so eventually Katie went on to teach Bon Jovi and I mean, hundreds of famous singers. So she trained me to teach. First, I was just training to sing, and then she trained me to teach her technique. And so I started to teach in her school. And at one time, she would teach me the lessons, and then I would teach her other 6 teachers the lessons. And I worked with her for quite a while. So during that time, I was cultivating a different way of thinking, a different lens for looking at the world through learning how to be compassionate and learning how to have empathy for myself, for all the wounded parts of myself that I felt were such a quitter, such a loser, that ran off, and I found out years later when I quit college. I know I'm jumping around a lot, hope you can follow, but when I quit college and I went back to tell my theater director that I was leaving, he looked at me and he said, "You're making a very, very big mistake." Now, he couldn't tell me why at the time. And I found out many years later why. Because the next show they did was Fiddler on the Roof. And it was like I'd paid my dues and it was time for me now to step into the bigger roles. And yeah, I think I was going to have a pretty big role. And, that was kind of the end of my acting career. I would just focus more on music. And I really did love acting.
Mm-hmm.
So
now you've taken your passion with music, though, and tell people what you do now for a living with your awakened art.
Okay, well, so so I do 2 things. So I've taken all of the work I've done as a singer, as a songwriter, as a voice teacher for 35 years, and all my spiritual and personal growth work, and I've incorporated this into a body of work I called The Awakened Artist. And it's 3 things. It's courses, it's coaching, and it's community. Because I feel like education plus practice in a safe space is the key to transformation. So I basically have taken the mystical, creative laws of the universe that we learn through New Thought, but I've also learned through the creative process that I've lived my life in and studied. And I take all that, and my focus of the work is to help people live from the source of their creative power, which is in our soul, right? Which is love, compassion, that soul, living from the soul, not the ego, from the light in us, not the fear in us. So I'm kind of like a midwife. I help people really find, in a very personal way, my friend described it as taking the mystical laws of the universe and making them really practical and tangible and personal and intimate for people when I work with them. So that you really are living in the expression of your soul, and consciously to become a conscious creator, not just, happenstance creating.
So do you primarily work, though, with people who are in the music industry or want to be? Oh.
I work with anybody. I've worked with people who aren't even artists, but I do work with painters, singers, comedians, and actors. Anyone can do my work. Anyone who really wants to have more of an impact through their creative, whether they just want to create a beautiful life or create art. And my ultimate, the thing that first question you asked me, what do I love? What am I passionate about? Is, come on, why is it so hard to live from love? Like, why is that so hard? So, but the answer to that question I've discovered is because we're all living with trauma that we haven't healed, and it's only like a new thing that trauma is a thing. Oh, maybe we should look at that. So I help people move through their darkness. I like to think of myself as kind of like a lighthouse. I just kind of be there while ships pass through the night, finding their way back home. So, yeah. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, you did. You did. It's funny. I want to go to the artist part of it, though, because it's funny. I have been, I'm not artistic. I'm creative, but I'm not artistic. Yeah. And those are different things. And I'm okay. I like feeling that I'm creative. But my creativity comes out in maybe creating a ritual or a sacred Sunday experience or a retreat. So it's different. But I was sharing with some friends the other day. I want to get into, once I'm back in my home and my construction is done, I want to get into some art journaling, because I don't, I just love the look of that, right? And I found this woman, and it's just kind of an odd story about what happened for me. So I did some research, and I found this woman. I can't remember her name right now, or I would tell you. And what happened was she has these, what she calls slow drawing classes. And she does this thing where she has you take a pen and put little lines, literally little lines, until they create kind of a form or an airiness or a density, that they're dense. So it's very, very simple. It's interesting. And so I took that and I thought, oh, that's kind of cool. And then what happened was I was cleaning off my desk, and I found drawings and sketching and scribbling that I had done that was practically the same method.
Wow.
And I was just so like, oh my God, I'm thinking I can't do anything. I'm thinking I don't know anything. And I look back, and there it was. And it was from my, the one booklet I found was from my landmark. I took a landmark course. So it's
Oh,
fun.
yeah. I've done landmark. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was in the communications course, and I'm doodling and doodling because I'm a doodler. But I just want to speak to how sometimes we, the common folk, how we deny that little extra bit of creativity or something. I used to joke all the time in my community and never let myself be recorded. But because I say, if I could actually sing, I would probably never give up the mic.
Oh,
Talent, thank God I don't. And I do love collaborating with people. I need to take a minute. Oh my gosh, I didn't do this time. I just want to say, if you've been watching the show, any show from newthoughtmedia.org, to make sure you make it part of your giving. And they would love it if you make it part of your weekly or your monthly giving. So put them on your giving list. Just give them something and establish it so that they can go on and continue to do this work. So thank you for those of you who do respond, and those of you who do give. They appreciate all of it. So thank you. So Deb, I guess for me, and I know this too, that there are people out there, and I don't want to be stereotypical, but there are a lot of men out there, especially, who don't tap into their creative side.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find that? Do you run into that?
Yes.
And what I know about that is that if we're not expressing ourselves creatively, there's a way it cuts off our flow. It's part of how we cut off our flow.
I feel that when when I've gone through phases of depression in my life, and some of those phases have lasted for years, decades, sometimes months. But when I go through periods of depression or anxiety, it's because I'm not tapped into the flow of my creativity. And I'm in survival mode, fight or flight, survival, have to do. I feel that it's a very masculine, that left part of our brain, it's a very masculine aspect, but it's not just in men, it's in women too. But it's, I don't mean this in any kind of way, positive or negative, but it's the old way of thousands of years where the patriarchal dominance in the world was about survival, and which was good, because look how far we've come from living in caves to like having internet so I can talk to you. But yet the soul is missing. The soul of our lives is missing. And that's the creative part. That's the feminine aspect of life. That's in the yin, the yang. So I focus so much on helping people, everybody, to bring that into awaken more parts of that feminine aspect, a creative, instinctual aspect, and to bring that into balance, because we need both. We need the container, but we need the flow. We're both. As artists, we are the container. As painters, our hands are arms, as musicians, our voice, our body. That's the container, the instrument. But then the flow comes from that mystical world that comes through us. So it's about both. I don't hear you.
Yep, I'm unmuting
Okay.
myself. It's fun. I am a doodler, so a while ago, with the support of my very good friend, I got into doing a bunch of Zentangle. And boy,
Cool.
that really satisfied
Yes.
the non-artist in me, because I found that I could do something and look at it and go, yeah, I really like that.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to really criticize it. I'll tell you a funny story real quick. Many years ago, because I am a doodler, and so a friend of mine, I was using oil pastels and just doodling. That's it, scribbling. And my friend said, "Well, you should also try it on black. Try it on black paper." I went, "Oh, okay." Not being an artist, I didn't know. So, but I started, doodling and scribbling and all this, and now on quality paper, which costs a fortune. And so a friend of mine, another friend of mine who used to own a florist, she said to me, "Oh, we should sell them." I'm like, "Get the heck out of here. They're my doodles." She took them and she sold them in her store. It was hysterical. So I can say I'm a paid artist.
There you
But
go.
they were literally my doodles. It was so funny. But somehow it spoke to somebody. But it was fun. It was mostly fun. And I would hang them in my office, and people would come by, and some people would say, "Oh, did the kids do them?"
Aw.
No, it was fine. And other people said, "Oh, yeah, they're beautiful." The beautiful thing was the disconnect, I was not attached to approval. See, that was the critical piece.
Yeah. I want to address something that you just spoke about. And this is one of the major things that I like to help artists and creators to become conscious creators, right? Instead of unconscious reactors. We really go through life with one foot on the gas and one foot on the brake. And, the foot on the gas is like, what does your soul want you to do? And when your mind is preoccupied and you're just like flowing, you're doodling, you're talking, you're loving, you're giving, you're right, all that. But then as soon as some voice comes up, well, I'm not an artist. Some voice from the past, some conditioned thing. And I have this all the time with singers that come to me in their first lesson. And then I'm like, who told you when you were little you couldn't sing? And this one guy said, nobody. And then the next lesson he came back and said, you were right. I auditioned for choir in 3rd grade and I thought I was a shoo-in and I didn't get it. And I thought I'll never sing again. But I can hear it in somebody's voice because I hear that inner struggle. I can tell so much about a person's personality, their habits, their learning habits, their ways of being, how they relate with themselves just from hearing their voice. So anyway, those thoughts that we have about ourselves that I call shadow mantras, that talking over here all the time, the negative voice, they make us put our foot on the brake. So we got one on the gas, we're trying to get somewhere, one foot on the brake, and we go nowhere. So my passion is to help people see what's in your blind spot. What are those thoughts? What are those beliefs? What's that conditioning that you actually believe is true? That's really not true, but you believe it's true. So you're living like it's true. And then that makes you go, oh, when you put your foot on the brake, just like you were talking about, and then you sold your art. Well, duh, of course you sold your art, right?
What's really funny is I really seriously had this condition, this unconscious belief about myself. And the way I first challenged it, and my good friend who is a Unity minister, she had an all-day women's thing at her church one day, and part of it was doing art. I know I walked into the room and my inner dialogue was, oh my God, I hate this stuff. I suck at this stuff. I can't do this stuff. But then the better part of me said, stop it. Stop it and just let go. And I'll never forget it because it was so silly. It was paper plates with sparkles, and I constructed something that stood up high, and it was hysterical. But all of a sudden, I had concocted this thing, and the other women in the room were looking at it like, "Oh, look what you did!" And I thought to myself, I didn't do anything except stop judging myself.
Yes.
That's what I did.
Right. Exactly.
That was the critical piece. I took my foot off the brake and just said, just do it. And
Yeah.
ever since that weekend, that time, I decided to let myself play and just be okay about it. And so I'm saying that because for anybody listening, we have to be willing to say, no, this is not my truth, and I'm not limited to that.
Right.
And I do create the distinction between being artistic and creative. And I'm okay about that distinction because I watch people who are artists who they can get things from their brain to their hand. See, I can't quite do that, but my artistry is other places. So It feels more creative, but to definitely to be willing to create. That's what I would like our audience to do, to be willing to create and not care what anybody thinks. And just take out the crayons, for gosh sakes, and just draw. Yeah. So what would you want our people who are watching now or later? What's the message you want to leave them with, Deb? And make sure you leave them. Just tell them real quickly also about the course that you're about to teach.
Okay, great. The message is, don't believe the lies that make you actually physically and emotionally feel bad. When you're feeling bad, that's guidance from your soul saying, yeah, the reason you feel bad in your body or your mind or your emotions is because you're listening to the lies of your conditioned mind. So go out into nature, go do something, go listen to music, go do something inspiring, and wake up. That's why I call it the awakened artist. Wake up, resonate those parts of you that really know how to love, so you can start to let love in and stop keeping love out. So, and that's what I do. I didn't really talk much about myself as a musician, but for the last 10 or so years, I've been writing songs and playing music for different New Thought communities, mostly here in the Philadelphia, Delaware area. And I love that. And my music's on the Empower MA website now. And so I'm excited. So people can go and see all the different services I play for on YouTube and my Facebook and Zoom, or not Zoom, but Facebook, YouTube, all those places. But my Awakened Artist, I'm starting another 6-week course on Monday nights, the end of July. It's 6 Monday nights. Oh, there it is. And from 6:30 to 9:30. I know that sounds intense. And I will say it is intense, but in a really powerful, invigorating, beautiful way. And there's a break halfway through the class. So 6 nights on Zoom. It's so amazing. The transformations, I wish we'd have had time to share about some of the transformations of the people that have done this work with me. It's just amazing to see. At 65, my friend went from being a frontline nurse during the pandemic to now she's teaching music in a music school in Long Island, and she's never taught a day in her life. And she's, 65, and she's changing her life, doing what she's always wanted to do, getting her songs out in the world.
That's very exciting.
It's amazing. Like, stop saying to yourself and believing it, I'm too old, it's too late, it's not possible, it's too much, it's too hard. Just stop. Just like you said, just stop it.
Right. Well, that is the Jersey.
That's right. That's my Jersey girl.
So thank you. Everyone watching, please look up the website and check it out, and check out the course. When is the course starting again?
We start on Monday, July 26th, and we run 6 Monday nights through August, the end of August, and everything is recorded. So if you miss, you got it. Don't worry about it. You'll see the recording.
Beautiful. And I want to say, as someone who listened to Deb's music and she supported me on the day that I spoke at the New Thought Philly, her music is lovely and her words are lovely and very fitting. And it was really a good day. Thank you for being here with us today. You. To all of you out there, be well, be happy, be brilliant, and I'll see you next week. Thank you. Bye. Love you.
Love you too. Bye.
New Thought Media Network is on the rise. We're looking to grow with you. Do you have technical media experience, or perhaps a desire to learn? Are you willing to volunteer your precious time and attention? We share this message to benefit all. If you possess a computer with a camera and a microphone, we will share our knowledge with you. Behind the scenes or being the star, let us bless our one. Contact us at info@ntmedia.org.
Shop Rev Skip becomes the Awake Shop. Inspiration you can wear. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, and mugs. Head over to the Awake Shop now. awakeshop.org.